So today I'll be talking about China's social credit system. You'll hear me refer to that as the SCS, or China's credit system. Don't get confused, same thing. I might even just call it your credit score, but I'm not talking about your financial credit score, I'm talking about your social credit score. So what that is a data-based score that you're given that is used basically to judge you on all parts of society. So the government or your business collects data from your digital purchases, traffic cams, anywhere they can get it, basically your online history, your shopping, your time spent streaming, playing video games. They will calculate all of that into a score with a baseline of 1,000. If you slip below 1,000, you will lose privileges. And if you go above 1,000, you might gain some or gain a public face. So current trials are being enforced on this right now. There's no one true system at the moment because it's on trial. It's been building since 2002 and they implemented it in like 2004. Or 2014 is when they implemented the program, but 2004 is when it kind of became public. So what they're doing is running 40 plus locally run government systems that are tracing your data and helping to create what they think is a good social environment. So the most prevalent systems that we'll kind of be talking about here are in Beijing, Rongcheng, and Jinan. Rongcheng is kind of our biggest focus because it's the one that China is most open about. By 2020, the system will be mandatory for every citizen in China. So right at the moment, it's opt-in. By 2020, you won't have a choice. You're going to be a part of this. So some background on China. It's important to know the kind of government China has here. So they're officially called the People's Republic of China, and what that means is they're a communist state. Even though the word republic's in there, don't let that confuse you. It's a communist state. It's got the largest population and the second largest economy in the world. In 1949, the dictator Mao Zedong took control of the country and became its first communist leader. So when he became leader, he started to enforce a policy of country over self. So personal gain at the expense of others was not acceptable under his rule. And while communism has changed since then in China, it's a different system now, but they do still hold true to that, especially in the social credit system. They still really, really believe that you cannot value your own personal gain over others, and if you do, you are going to be punished for it. So this is Mao Zedong. You might know this picture, pretty famous over there. So how general systems work. General systems collect data from your digital traces and use your location, friends, smart home data, so like Alexis, anything you say into your Alexa, is tracked. Your shopping and purchase history. So if you're buying things like feather scarves, you're going to lose points because it's frivolous, it's unnecessary. If you're buying a nice purse, you'll lose points. If you buy diapers, that's a very big thing over there right now. People are buying diapers just to do it because it raises your social credit score because it shows that you are a responsible caretaker. So the more diapers you buy, and this sounds crazy, especially if you have a kid, the higher your score gets. Another big thing right now is how much time you spend gaming and watching videos and streaming things. That will lower your points, especially if you're at an excess of 10 hours. They say you'll lose like 20 points an hour after that point, so it becomes a big deal because if you even slip 10 points under that 1,000 point line, you can't get on a train, you can't get on a bus. It becomes a really big problem for you. So how this works is, other than digital traces, you may not know this, but China has the most extensive traffic cam and street camera footage in the world. So much so that they've made movies out of it. There's 7,000 hours per camera at least. So at every street corner, every lamp post has about 6 to 10 cameras on it at a time, pointed in every direction. Some are 360 cameras, some are monitored by people. And these cameras can tell if you're on foot, in a car, on a bicycle, and they scan for things like jaywalking, cutting people off in traffic, flipping people off out your window is a big deal. You lose points for that. Poor social behaviors are monitored manually, so if you're distracted on your phone and you bump into someone, that's another 10 points off your score. If you push somebody to get them out of your way, if you jaywalk, anything, you will lose points for that. However, if you see somebody drop a purse and you pick it up, you get points for that. So something like that. If you pocket the money, you will be publicly shamed. So, it's a weird system. Beijing and Rongcheng have actual information collectors, so human spies that walk around and talk to people and they're like, hi, what's up? How's your day going? And the more they say that to you, the more you're like, oh, I'm being observed. So if they see you in an alleyway, they'll be like, what are you doing back here? They'll write your name down, write everything they can find out about you, and then you'll get or lose points. So every interaction is a transaction in China right now. That's kind of the main point of the SCS. So these are the traffic cameras I was talking about. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 just in that photo. Then there's 6 more back here, 8 more back there, and 4 more back on that traffic camera. And of course, our lovely leader Mao Zedong's in that big portrait right there. So if that doesn't give you an image of what China looks like right now, I don't know what does. These are their traffic camera recognition. So from 40, 50 feet away, these are their names. They can see your face and tell you who you are. They know what you're doing. They know if you're blue is cars, red is bicycle, yellow is on foot. This gentleman's being caught for, he cut her off when he was walking past her. So, yeah, kind of a big deal that they have these cameras. It's how their entire system works. The Rongcheng system, which is, I don't want to call it my favorite, but it's my favorite because it's the one I'm most interested in. It begins with the 1,000 points baseline, which people can be given or taken away. And the system is run by local government, and not only in the city, but in conjunction with the surrounding Shandong province. So that's a whole chunk of China. It's like this whole peninsula. So public records and awards go up for good behavior. So not only are they doing this privately, but they're just naming and shaming with these big posters of like, hey, this guy, I brought my own very cool. There's these big posters of like, this guy picked up a wallet, or this woman lost her purse and then somebody returned it to her, that kind of a thing. And then there's big ones that are like, this guy beat his wife, so he's up here on the red banner of shame, that kind of a thing. And you lose a lot of points for public and private affairs. So if it's something that happened in your house and it gets reported, you lose points for it. And if you're affiliated with the people next door, like if they're your neighbor and you don't report it, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. But if you're the guy who reported it, you're going to get points for that. So it's a weird system of backstabbing, basically. So it's a whole be careful what you do and say at all times thing, which is the biggest problem with this. So I have a little video. This is Zhao, or Zhou Aini, who talks. She's one of the information collectors. She'll talk to you a little bit about like what she does. You'll see her go around and talk to people. And then down here is, don't ask me, I think it's Zhang Yingji, but I could be wrong. He's experienced both the high and low level conditions. So he was above 1,000 for a while, slipped below because of somebody else's actions, and then had to experience like being withheld his rights and things like that. So we're gonna watch that real quick. Where's the audio? Am I missing it?
And the speakers and the plug-in.
I don't know.
No, to your right,
This one? Okay.
the speaker, is the button, is the blue light on?
Yes.
Is the thing plugged in?
Yes.
Turn it, the knob. You turning the knob.
Yeah, I am. Am I crazy? Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I'll grab it real quick.
All right.
Joe Emilie is retired, but when her town was brought into a new government program, her services were required. Now, she gets paid about $50 a month to watch and record the lives of her 3,000 neighbors, as one of 6 so-called information collectors. China started piloting its social score system in 2015 in villages like this one. Here's how it works. You start with 1,000 points. If you do something bad, you get points docked. If you do something good and you happen to be spotted, you get a boost.
就是我们有，比方说是跟着有几个小村内哈，来听到的这是好件好事啊，我就很书写的这上面。
These journals filled with tales of neighbors helping old people or seen leaving trash in hallways end up in a local office. A government employee gives each entry a score. The results go public.
这是我们村的话叫什么？是的保健员哈，洗到了钱包哈，但是他就马上就送到了这个哈村委会哈，为了大事哈，为了戏剧哈，到里面进去这个。 就找这名电梯送到约会儿哈，表扬他辛勤不昧哈，凭借了岗上。
On top of that, he got this "didn't pocket the money he found" trophy. Raising his score could mean more money later, with lower interest loans and discounts on utilities and rent.
你看我的所在那个社区里的邻里非常的没人一个就是邻里打架的，一个都没有。 因为在现在生活也好了，用着也好。
Ron Fenbaugh thinks the system isn't just about the points. It works because people want to save face.
一个是这个这个喝酒，喝酒回家和老婆俩打架，老婆都打碎了。虽然这个父亲呢，原用对造成影响也不好，我们也挺觉得。他最后来找我学呀，哎呀，这学生是哎呀，打架，人家不都写上用了。 都要爱面子，你给他写这上，你写好，说你好，哎，你写肯定是写的是脸上表面很光彩，你写的不好，他写的他那些也不光也还自明呀。
But the program is more than just public naming and shaming. If someone slips below 1,000 points, even just a little, there are serious consequences.
利息950分利息，意味着你利息意味着你将来坐飞机呀、掏消费呀，或者是什么贷款啊，都不能做，都不可以。
John India co-signed a loan for a friend who later skipped out. He paid his share, but the local court didn't care.
我前2天去淄博看暑假，没有票，我就得买这个头等舱，结果是说你信用度不够，不能买头等舱。我回来没办法，不能还是没有座位，回来坐这个大巴。 高铁不是3个小时、4个小时就到了，大巴车得10多小时。
4 million people have been blocked from buying high-speed train tickets over low social credit, and more than 11 million from buying flights. To raise his score, John gets in line at a local community office to donate money the government says will go to charity.
这是100的这个，对人亲的600的、500的都有，都可以加分。
John keeps track of his social score closely, but he doesn't keep track of where his donations end up.
接着对这个事往上接，具体不问他，我也不知道这个事。我现在已经通过续写，通过捐款啊，通过做义工来给自己加分。
The system might have caused him to suffer, but Zhang is unwavering in his support for the government's push to score him.
这是通过这种制度来约束很多不自觉的人。
So that's a little about that.
Top right, present.
There we go. Okay. So, yeah. So as you saw, his actions weren't his own, and he was still punished for them. And a lot of the actions were scored not based on your credit, but other people's reports on what you did. So the good things go a little more unnoticed than the bad things do is the big deal here. So the perks of a good social score are you get cuts on your energy bills, or all bills technically, but energy bills see the highest cuts because the government has no control over how you get taxed on that, at least in China. Depositless rental, so when you rent an apartment, a bike from the city bike law, an umbrella from the city umbrella law, all of that, you don't have to pay a deposit on that because they trust you already. If you're below the 950, you might not even be able to get it. So you also see improved interest rates at banks, which means you pay less interest on loans and you get more interest on your accounts. So it seems beneficial when you look at it this way, because it seems like people are getting like rewarded for being good people, for being trustworthy. But here's where it kind of goes downhill. You get more matches with people of higher ranking on social dating websites and things like that. So there's one called Zimwe where it will only match you with people of equal or higher score, or it'll give you more matches based on how many people you've scored with. So it's a little weird on that front, because you don't want to be affiliated with people of lower scores when you're in this country, because that will lower your score. The more people you hang out with who have a lower score than you, the more risk you're at. So this is the most messed up perk, I think. It's the access to better medical care at hospitals. And this is only some hospitals, but it's still kind of a weird big deal, because if there's somebody who's there earlier than you, and they're a level B person and you're a level A person, they will skip the level B person so that you can go even if the level B person is in worse condition than you. So if the worst level B person has sores all over your face and your ankle kind of hurts, you can skip Mr. Sore Face because you're level A. Kind of screwed up, right? The penalties are, there's a lot more of these than there are perks. So they can include things like travel restrictions on airlines and railways. You get banned from nicer hotels, and even if you get into nicer hotels, you lose amenities, like you can't go to the pool with higher level people. It's kind of recreated the caste system, but in a different way that's more fluctuating. They will literally throttle your internet speed, so they will track down your computer, your IP address, and chop up your internet speed. So your pages will load at, depending on how bad you are, 75% for like a 950. If you're in like the 600 range of points, you get like 50% internet speed. Below that, it's like 25%. And if you're so low that you're in the 300 range, you might as well not even go online. So this is a picture of about 17.46 million people discredited that were not allowed to get on flights or trains. So they were turned away, not just asked to use different transportation or lower class seating. Turned away, which means some of these people couldn't get home from business trips, some of these people couldn't get to business trips, some people were on vacation, were stranded, that sort of a thing. So these people all had to leave, were not offered alternatives, and had to find ways home. Whether they called somebody, or they got on a bus, or, God forbid, walked a certain amount of the way. Yeah. Another 5.47 weren't allowed to buy high-speed train tickets. So like you saw that that man in the video, he had to take a 10-hour bus ride home. So it's pretty rough on the people who are even just a little below that 1,000 mark. So this began in 1999 as digital records became more prevalent. The government started talking, because trustworthiness and honesty are kind of the motto of China, which is funny because their government isn't either of those things. They use these digital records until 2000, when they announced that they would be tracking them. Was when they started to become more public with this. They were honest and told people that, hey, start caring about what you put on the internet, what you buy, everything, because we're going to be watching it. In 2004, that was the first mention of the term social credit. That was the first time we heard this softer term for video or digital surveillance. Propaganda posters featuring the terms Chang and Jin from Honesty and Credibility have been everywhere since about last summer. Like, huge posters everywhere. Tiny posters, stickers, backs of cars, all over the place. Finally, data collection began in 2007, and we know the opt-in version became available in 2014, but was widespread by 15. And that's where we are right now, with a growing network of these individual systems every day that interact with each other, and while they don't all work the same way, they're being collected. So the current state of the system, there's not one true system at the moment, because they're all split up, but they're trying to pull out the best ones, or what they think are the best ones, and interweave them into this bigger system. So your current scores will be evaluated when you move on to the full system, but the full system's criteria haven't been fully fleshed out yet. There are mostly local government ones, and any ones that are run by businesses that'll give you like points off perks, things like that, like 10% off bonuses if you had a good deed this week kind of things. They're also reporting into these local government systems, so when they're individually or independently run, they're really not. They're just a funnel into the larger systems. So public awareness, currently scores are private unless you're on a shame board or something like that, or on a good deeds board. But apps are being proposed that if I held up my phone to, say, John or Kier's face, I would see their numbers and know exactly where they were at. Or if I turned it this way, it would pop up right there, and I would know who that was and what their score was and whether I wanted to affiliate with that person or not. So phone cameras are one way of doing this. There's also these goggles, which are similar, or glasses, which are similar to Google Glass, called black tech visors, where you put it on, it scans your face, it hooks up to your smartphone, and I'm down here checking everybody's score. And this is used by police right now in China to face match to criminals. So if I looked at somebody, it would say I had a 67.2% genetic similarity to that other person that I was looking for. So it was kind of a way to sort out if you were looking for a criminal or a crowd. But now, they're considering allowing police to see someone's scores to know who to look at and who to watch. And that's what that looks like. These are what the police are using right now. That's what it looks like looking through it. It scans the face, it goes down into the phone over there. It's just this cord behind your ear, and you have all of their information. Every person gets a serial number and a label of what they've done in the past, what deeds put them in that place is supposed to be on the apps. So pretty freaky stuff to be able to look at anybody and know that you are better or worse than them by your society standards, and build how you interact with other people in that way. That's crazy to me. So government officials in China claim that the system is supposed to help those who better society, who go so unrewarded all the time. Because if you better society, you tend to be a selfless person. You don't get any payback off that. But if you do the wrong thing, you tend to get rewards for it, just because you don't get caught, or you just don't get punished strongly enough, is what they think. So it's supposed to, as they call it, discipline those who cannot discipline themselves, which is an interesting way of phrasing it. It also has another purpose where in rural communities in China, you don't see a lot of financial transactions, so building credit is hard for them. Once they go to urban areas or any kind of another area, they don't have the same credit they do in their small towns. They just don't have that financial history. Because in small town China, it's all cash transactions, there's no loans, it's very, very rural. So you end up with these people who are now building a different kind of credit that will allow them to get loans and such if they need them. So that's sort of the positive side of it. The other thing is, China struggles with food safety and product safety and all those assurances. So people are pretty much hoping that if you are being monitored all the time, you'll stop putting lead in their food. Basically, you'll be more safe about where you place products that need to be refrigerated, and products that shouldn't have sharp edges won't have sharp edges anymore. That's what the people of China are hoping, not so much for the government's advertising. So before I chose this project, I thought this was disturbing, alarming, creepy, kind of interesting. And after this project, I can see the benefits of it. I can see how it would help like the rural people, and how people are kind of getting their dues a little bit, but it's still creepy and not quite what I'm going for. Yeah, I don't think it's the right way to go about building social credit at all. So the reception of this by the Chinese citizens, 80% of people who are in a system right now either somewhat or strongly agree with this. They love it over there because their government has already been surveilling them for years. They know that. They've seen the cameras. It's not like they're trying to hide them. So these people are just happy that they're finally getting rewarded and protected, is the way they see it, but who knows? There's protection from fraudulent businesses and the shady people. In other countries, obviously, like America, express worry about people's rights and how okay it is to watch people like this, because it's absolutely everything you do is a transaction. So also the mental stress of that is being debated highly, because how much can a person take being scrutinized at all times and worrying about just another thing? So it's another big deal there. So this is a chart that shows you that most of the people who love this are higher class, richer, well-educated, urban people. So those are the people who are more into this. Rural people value their privacy, obviously, so they don't totally love this. And this, you might recognize as a credit score app, like we have here, like financial credit scores. But this is the Sesame credit app, which does have an American version that just does financial credit. But in China, there's a web that shows how well you are doing socially. And if you're an accessible person, so it will base you on your history, your behavioral habits, everything is recorded into this app, and then it shoots to the government, comes back to you, and you get to see where you stand at all times. And these people track them religiously, because the last thing you want is to either be shamed and put down and not be allowed to literally buy food in some cases. So yeah, it's become kind of like this heavy weight over people there. So this is their version of following that. They make it look really cute. It's not cute. So the controversy, as I said, digital surveillance is heavily contested. You don't love it here in America, everyone knows that. There's debate as to whether this violates privacy rights for obvious reasons. Is it okay to watch people 24/7 in their homes and out of them? Can government set moral standards is a big deal here. So how much money are you allowed to spend on what? A lot of times people look at things like the time spent streaming videos and stuff, and that's where you lose points. But when is the government allowed to say this is too many hours, or this is too short, or this, yeah. So it becomes kind of this issue of what's the government allowed to tell you to do. It even comes down to like holding doors in coffee shops. It comes down to that. If you can lose points for not doing that, or gain them for doing that. So it's become sort of the government's moral standard and not your own or anyone else's. Is the system beneficial for the people of China or just the government? It's hard to say. The people of China seem to like it, but at the same time, it's the government's way of collecting information at all times. So who the system's really meant to help is questionable. So these are